You're listening to Radio Azad and you are watching us on the Radio Azad page. With me, I have Dr. Shamila Bhamani. She holds a PhD in education with specialization in early childhood development. She's the Associate Director of Allied Health and lead early childhood development parenting program at the Aga Khan University. And she is talking to us about screen time in children and the impact of screen time, both the good and the bad. We are going to give both sides of the coin here. So, Shalina, before we got interrupted, we were at a very interesting juncture where you were talking about the impact of screen time on babies and toddlers. So, and we're going to look at it from different perspectives. Parents की क्या complaints more often होती है बच्चों की socialization skills पर, speech पर, brain development पर, आँखों पर. तो over to you.
Thank you so much. So there are several things जो कि हमारे पास clinics में भी parents काफी ज़्यादा शिकायतें लेकर आते हैं. So first I would like to talk about what parents bring to us. And then I'll also try to relate some studies के जिसमें भी similar sort of like evidence, similar sort of data को highlight किया गया है. So parents often come up with a concentration issue. So you see, one of the adverse impact of high amount of screen time is that hijacking of the concentration span. Because if you really see from the neurosciences perspective, so dopamine or oxytocin हमारे जो हैं वो glands होते हैं. Oxytocin is responsible for happiness, whereas dopamine is more like a pleasure hormone to us. So अब first करें Ayesha, let's take about 30 minutes. 30 minutes में आप अपने छोटे बेबी के साथ ring around the roses खेल रहे हैं, उनको ऊपर sky jumping दे रहे हैं, उनको आपने छोटा सा एक थ्रो एंड कैच आपने बॉल आप उनके साथ प्ले करें, हाफ आवर आप उस एक्टिविटी में रहें कंपेयर टू स्क्रीन टाइम के 3 मिनट्स. तो स्क्रीन टाइम जो है वो जितना आप हाफ आवर में उनका डोपामाइन इंक्रीज करते हैं वो स्क्रीन टाइम 2 to 3 मिनट्स में कर देता है. Which makes children to ask for more, and that brings delay in gratification. And delay in gratification means कि बच्चे को बैठकर concentration करने में problem होगा. Because the child is getting so much overstimulation from the screen that those dopamine will keep asking for more dopamine. So it's like more like a hole. The more you'll put, the more it'll demand. So that is one neurotransmission. There is one cognitive issue that parents usually find. And one of the scientific reasons behind it is because high amount of screen time actually impacts the brain dopamine reception. Mm-hmm. The second most important challenge parents come across is with the impulse control. कि वो कहते हैं कि बच्चे में impulse control नहीं है, किसी के सामने भी बदतमीजी कर लेता है, हम पर हाथ उठाता है, बच्चा दूसरों से झगड़ता है. All of these things actually are also contributed by high amount of screen time. एक study में ये compare किया गया 4,000 बच्चों के साथ कि वो कितने hours of screen time use करते हैं और उनको उनसे टैग किया गया कि how it curtails their ability to control their impulse. And it has a great association between high amount of screen time usage and lack of impulse control. This is one reason we find a lot of parents coming up with complaint of hyperactivity, child not sitting, children not able to sort of communicate. The third very important element, which is a very sad element, is it reduces the empathy. So जब आप स्क्रीन पर होते हैं आपका ह्यूमन इंटरेक्शन बहुत कम होता है, राइट? लाइव ह्यूमन नहीं होता. एज पर साइंस छोटे बच्चे जो स्पेशली हैं जितना लाइव ह्यूमन इंटरेक्शन से उनकी सोशल रेगुलेशन, उनकी एम्पैथी स्किल्स, उनकी लाइफ स्किल्स डेवलप होती है, इतना स्क्रीन टाइम से नहीं होती है. ऑल्दो स्क्रीन टाइम्स माइट कीप देम एंगेज्ड, बट लॉन्ग टर्म जो एडवर्स इम्पैक्ट्स हैं वो स्क्रीन टाइम के बहुत ज्यादा होते हैं. शॉर्ट टर्म तो आपको बहुत अच्छा लग रहा होता है क्योंकि आपको एक नैनी मिल जाती है जो आपकी बेबी का टेक केयर कर रही होती है, you're relaxed, you're free, but long term impact is very difficult. And that is one reason कि हम जब बच्चा वही जो बच्चा छोटा होता है टीन एज में आता है तो पेरेंट्स कंप्लेन कि आइसोलेटेड है, रूम में बंद है, हमें बात नहीं करता, हम लोगों से नहीं मिलता, सोशली इंटरेक्ट नहीं करता, is because क्योंकि उस छोटे बच्चे ने अपने आप को इससे अटैच्ड किया है और outer world से detach किया हुआ है. And that as parents we have actually inculcated all of that. So third is this. The fourth is a misconception of parental control and screen time. सो गैजेट्स तो बहुत सारी चीजें अप्लाई करते हैं कि हमने बहुत पेरेंटल कंट्रोल्स दिए हुए हैं, हमने टाइम बॉन्ड्स दिए हुए हैं, बट एज पेरेंट्स हाउ फार डू वी एक्चुअली फॉलो दैट? आई मीन डू वी रियली हैव एन अलार्म दैट टॉक्स अबाउट कि अच्छा 20 मिनट्स हो गए, लेट्स टेक द गैजेट बैक? We keep increasing those number, and that actually impacts the higher order thinking skills of children, speech of children. अब आप देखें क्लिनिक्स में हमारे पास बहुत ऐसे बच्चे आते हैं, their accent is not the accent that we speak here.
Really?
So they may be, yeah, they have a very different accent. And that's what their parents say कि अरे इसकी अंग्रेजी तो बहुत अच्छी है. I said, yeah, really, you know, is the child hearing that अंग्रेजी? Because you see, for language, there is a level. You first listen, you speak, you read, and you write. So where is that child listening that accent from? Of course, from the cartoons. और फिर वो बच्चे जब grade 1 में जाते हैं, तो उनका speech वैसे नहीं होता जैसे दूसरे बच्चों का होता है. And that is where the gaps start coming, because they are thinking in some other language, their environment is in some other language, and their screen orientation is an entirely different dialect. So that has an adverse impact on the language development of young children as well. And that is where parents seem very concerned.
Mm-hmm.
So these are some real short-term, long-term adverse impact. और long term तो बहुत ही बुरे हैं. बच्चे में जब empathy नहीं होगी तो violence का ज़्यादा होगा. जब बच्चे में dopamine demand ज़्यादा होगी तो drug abuse के chances हो सकते हैं. So there are many long-term effects and transgenerational effects of high screen time.
That was going to be my next question, Shalina, कि ये जो violent video games बच्चे देखते हैं, which are actually very real, right? It's all blood and gore, and it's not just cartoon like, it's actual human
Violence.
figures, right, that they are seeing on the screen. And what kind of impact is this having on our kids' brains? And I'm sure it's been in the news about all the mass shootings that have been happening in the United States, and the average age of these shooters is actually 18. Is there a link? What have studies shown?
So we can, for a particular incident, we may not be able to establish a link, but there have been a lot of studies that talk about that how all of these shooting applications, all of these applications that engage children, वो जो prince वाली games है, जिसमें sword लेके एक दूसरे को मारना होता है, all of these games are not building collaborative competition or a healthy competition. Rather, it's bringing a kind of rage, anger, and sort of internalization in young children specifically. And when they grow up, they start imagining that as a real world. कि जो पसंद नहीं आया, जो चीज समझ नहीं आई, उसे खत्म कर दें. Because game में भी यही होता है, right? Mm-hmm. If you don't like, if you have to cross from one level to the other, you have to kill certain people. Similarly, when real life they experience these type of scenarios, they start acting accordingly. So as parents, अगर हम role modeling अच्छी नहीं करते हैं और हम इस गैजेट को रोल मॉडल बना लेते हैं बच्चे का, तो वो जो बच्चा उससे सीखता है वो बड़ा होकर वही चीज अप्लाई करता है अपनी लाइफ में. जबकि बच्चा आपके मेरे साथ हो तो हम तो किसी शायद we would not even like to kill a bee intentionally in front of a child, but child is seeing that if you have to go from one level to the other, you need to kill people. If you have to get something you don't have, you have to kill people. In order to invade to a castle, you need to kill entire set of army and go to that castle. So these are all very negative concepts. And, there has been some very adverse impact of those applications. जो अभी couple of years back, there were some applications जो कि बच्चों को suicide करना सिखाती थी, They used to give challenge. If you either pick a person, wear your virtual reality glasses, kill the person. And if you can't kill the person, kill yourself, because you're a loser. Mm-hmm. So there can be a lot of adverse impacts of such games, and that is one reason कि parents और teachers को ये mindfully देखना चाहिए कि कौन सी applications इनके mobile में हैं जो कि developmental practitioners ने review की है. Because not every application is a child-friendly application. Not every application is reviewed by an expert who is expert in child development. So you need to really understand वो छोटी छोटी information जो लिखी होती है ना, जैसे हम I agree करके let go करते हैं. So read those information. Who has designed that app? How many hours? They write all of these things. If you really go in detail, they write every single thing. It's just that we accept all cookies and we let it be. So we really need to be mindful as to which applications we are installing in our mobile.
Very, very interesting and very eye-opening. Absolutely. अब जो एडवोकेट्स हैं वो कहते हैं कि बच्चे फाइन मोटर स्किल्स डेवलप करते हैं और एक दे आर एक्सपोज टू म्यूजिक एंड ऑल दीज काइंड्स ऑफ थिंग्स देयर हैज टू बी सम गुड
Yes.
as far as screen time is concerned, if you can quickly go over those.
Yeah. So like I mentioned in my first question, everything that is giving some sort of social interaction, some sort of cognitive development, and some sort of constructive interaction is very healthy. When you use screen to bridge a gap between a child and a grandfather, it's absolutely healthy because child is trying to connect with the family. If your child cannot go to the school, and if you're using Khan Academy, for instance, I really love Khan Academy's app. That is one reason I'm trying to advocate. But if you use apps like Khan Academy and different simulation-based app to teach about human body, astronomy, astrology, all of those things, those are constructive ways. So always try to provide time for social interaction, like I mentioned, for educational type of screen time and for interactive screen time. But always keep a balance. Naturally, apps are very important for teaching science, for teaching, especially STEAM. जो हम कहते हैं ना, science, technology, engineering, arithmetic, arts, mathematics, and sciences. So it's very important to go ahead and take support from the application and use them for the good, use them for the cognitive development of the children. Also, आजकल बहुत सारे social hubs बने हुए हैं, बहुत सारी robotics की classes होती है. Robotics is a great way of engaging child with the technology. Your children are building schemes, they are designing towers, they are getting into higher order thinking. So those constructive things, technology is wonderful. I guess it has blessed our life only if we use it correctly. And only if we follow the guidelines developed by developmental pediatricians. American Society of Pediatrician, CDC, has a lot of beautiful guidelines for age-appropriate screen time. So try to apply all of those, and then screen can become actually a very good support.
Absolutely. Now, one thing you just mentioned is these recommended screen times, and by the American Association of Pediatrics, right? So, can you give us a little bit of those guidelines? What should it be like for very young kids and for teenagers?
So in all the sessions that we take here at Aga Khan University, I always refer to these recommendations, and parents ask me a lot of questions. So this might not be very favorable to a lot of parents. So a disclosure, from the time the child is born until the child is 2, there has to be 0 screen time.
Wow.
Unfortunately.
Okay.
From ages 2 till ages 8, or you can say 6 or 7, you can have up to 2 hours. 2 hours is maximum, up to 1 hour of leisure screen time. All right. And then from 8 till 17, you should not have more than 2 hours of screen time, which is non-educational screen time, a leisure screen time. But until age 2, no screen time. UNICEF has produced a parenting brief that talks about the importance of live human interaction to a child's brain. Children's brain are schemed, they are hardwired to respond to live human interaction rather than screen interaction. So अगर हम ये समझ रहे हैं कि बच्चे को abacadus, sounds, phonics, poems, animal sounds अच्छे आ जाएंगे screen से? No, that is not correct. We as parents, the way we can roar, a screen can never substitute that lion roar for the kid, especially when they're very young. So from 0 to 2, it will take a lot of time, but we need to invest that live human interaction with our kids rather than screen time. So until age 2, no screen time. After 2, you can increase up to 45 minutes, an hour, maybe 1.5 hours. So that is what the recommendations are.
Okay. One thing very interesting that you said, Shalina, is that these parental control apps, right, which make these claims कि बस 2 घंटे के बाद ये shut off हो जाएगा and all that. So, what can parents use to monitor and set limits on their kids? And how do you help parents? And what models are used at Khan University's parenting program? Can you help us? I think we really need some help at this point.
So our program is basically at Khan University. We are very fortunate that our leadership and our management, our hospital's vision is very much inclined to parenting education. And that allows us to educate parents in very practical manner. So although we use Zoom and online sessions to teach parents, but we advocate a limited recommended use of technology. And how to navigate using technology in a more constructive manner is one of our agendas, especially in early years, early childhood development. So what we advise parents is a very interesting thing. We need to do 5 things, start from 5 things. The first thing, the utmost important thing is role model. You see, how will children get exposed to mobile phone if they don't have it around, right? I mean, a young kid initially has a newborn child has a blurry vision. बच्चे को पंखा भी नहीं दिखता, you know, मम्मी का फेस भी बहुत देर से दिखता है. How will child be exposed to mobile phone? Only if we are using it. So when you're sitting with child interacting, keep the gadgets away. The first thing is role model. Do what you preach. It's very important not to use mobiles. जो teenagers के parents होते हैं, जो थोड़े बड़े बच्चों के parents होते हैं, हम कहीं भी खाने जाते हैं, एक जमाना था कि एक दूसरे को देखकर शेयर करते थे. अब जैसे ही प्लेट्स आती है तो हर कोई मोबाइल उठाता है, पिक्चर लेने लगता है. Starting from grandfather until the age 5-6 का बच्चा, everyone takes picture. So role model. Do not use technology at certain times, especially not at bedtime, not at morning time, and not at meal times. जब हम ही यूज नहीं करेंगे तो बच्चे को उस टाइम पे वो टेक्नोलॉजी नजर ही नहीं आएगी. So role model. Second thing is set screen free zones. I still remember जब नया नया हमारे घर में कंप्यूटर आया था तो वो बेडरूम में नहीं होता था. We were not allowed to have any gadget in the bedroom.
Yeah.
So this thing can still work. So set those zone out your house, which will be the technology zone, which will be the zone where there'll be no technology. For instance, do not have it in bedroom, do not have it in dining room, do not have it if you have so many rooms, do not also have it in living room. So, you know, you can have a television, you can have social time spent watching TV as family together, but do not have mobiles. Gadgets should only be when, you know, there's a particular zone where you're sitting, like maybe perhaps living room could have gadget. You cannot have, but definitely not have mobile phone in dining room. So start from this habit, zone out your house, then start the screen detoxification. We all need it. I also tell parents, हमारे सारे यूनिवर्सिटी के सेशंस जो हम पेरेंटिंग क्लब में लेते हैं उसमें every time I tell parents, जो भी बच्चे को नीड होती है ना वो हमारी भी नीड होती है एज पेरेंट्स. सो बच्चे को भी डिटॉक्सिफिकेशन की नीड है, हमें भी डिटॉक्सिफाई करने की नीड है फ्रॉम स्क्रीन. सो वन संडे इन अ मंथ डू नॉट यूज गैजेट. Absolutely no gadget day.
Okay.
You know, sort of tame yourself not to use it. Start from 2 hours, then go up to 4 hours, then go up to 6 hours, and just dedicate one day in a month for no screen time.
That
When
is
you
the
start doing it,
order.
yeah, that will be beneficial long term. The fourth thing parents can do is to set limits. No parenting application, they just claim. There are no such thing as parental control. वो parental control 2 घंटे में बंद हो जाता है. बच्चा अपनी एक वो कहते हैं ना अपना एक hue and cry मचा देता है. They cry to the top of their noise to get it back. And then we as parents give up. So understand कि हर चीज बच्चे को बच्चे के हिसाब से मिलना is not important. You see, children need to know the value of not getting the things that they want. So parental control को या तो follow करें या तो don't get into this myths. Become your own parental control. It's very important because gadget तो एक अलार्म है ना, अलार्म को हम शट कर देते हैं जब हमारे बेड के बराबर में बजता है. इसी तरह जब मोबाइल पे बजता है तो वो खुद से दोबारा रीऑपरेट भी हो जाता है. And kids are very smart. They know how to deactivate all of those parental controls.
Yes.
So become your own parental control.
In fact, we have to ask them कि बेटा ये कैसे हम बंद करें?
Sometimes, they have their own playlist. So
Uh-huh.
even when my nephews come in, they know what in my phone is their playlist. And I don't have password to it. I don't know how to make such playlists for myself too. So they are smart people, use their intelligence, their smartness, their intelligence for good use. Fifth is very important to do conventional social interaction at home. Now, what do I mean by conventional social interaction is bring back those games like chess,
Mhm.
bring back those games like name, place, animal, thing, bring back those times where Monopoly used to be a trend, bring back those times where we used to go watch stars for no good reason, right? So bring back conventional games. Those had lots of opportunities for holistic development. सो बच्चे के साथ नेम प्लेस एनिमल थिंग खेलने से बहुत सारी चीजें डेवलप होती है. फाइन मोटर की जो हम बात करते हैं ना, तो जब बच्चा पेपर पकड़ता है, पेन पकड़ता है, दे यूज फाइन मोटर स्किल. नेम प्लेस एनिमल थिंग से ग्रामर उसकी इंप्रूव होती है, उसकी वोकैबुलरी इंप्रूव होती है, वो बच्चा सोचता है, हेल्दी कॉम्पिटिशन डेवलप होता है. माई गॉड, व्हेन आई रिमेम्बर व्हेन आई वाज अ चाइल्ड वी यूज्ड टू प्ले क्रिकेट. ये बुक को ऐसे आई डोंट नो सम स्वे करके उसके पेजेस को वी यूज्ड टू सी द नंबर and
Yeah.
then we used to count who got the best high
Yeah.
score. You see, now no more kids don't even know these games.
Mhm.
And if we have strived well, they will strive too. It's just the constructive use of technology. And एक घंटा बच्चे को दें, but do not let them be bored. We need boredom.
Mhm.
Kids need boredom.
Yeah.
It's science that kids need boredom. They need to understand the importance of sitting and being mindful. And
Right.
mindfulness comes from boredom.
And
So let them be bored.
creativity
Yes,
comes from boredom. So that's science has shown that. Many studies have shown that.
yeah. And also arts and craft, music, there are zillion things if you really want to do as a parent. And the sixth thing, be do not sort of like, I would say that do not underestimate yourself as parent, as caregiver. Know that you are the best resource child can ever have. No technology, no books, no games can substitute a resourcefulness a parent has.
Mm-hmm.
So believe in yourself first and know that whatever you will be doing, it'll be tough. It won't be easy. Children may have a lot of hard time. You will have a lot of hard time, but we need to start from at least 10 minutes of detoxification,
Mm-hmm.
10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then go up to changing your entire lifestyle.
Wow. Certainly eye-opening, Shalina. And I have one final question for you. You talked about screen detoxification. Does that mean that screen time is addicting?
Oh, yes. You see, like I would like to be a little philosophical over here. Just say, like, there's a very famous quote by Rumi. Anything more than your need is a poison.
Mm.
तो पेरेंट मस्ट अंडरस्टैंड. बहुत ज्यादा टॉयज, बहुत ज्यादा लीगो गेम्स, बहुत ज्यादा स्क्रीन टाइम, सिवाय बुक्स के हर वो चीज जो हम बच्चे को ला कर देते हैं, एनीथिंग टू मच इज अ पॉइजन. सो
Mm.
वी नीड टू स्ट्राइव फॉर बैलेंस. यू सी, बच्चों के लिए इस वक्त टेक्नोलॉजिकली एडवांस होना बहुत जरूरी है. इसीलिए उनके स्कूल्स में गैजेट आए हैं, बिकॉज स्कूल्स के गैजेट में बहुत डिफरेंस होता है. देयर इज अ ह्यूज डिफरेंस बिटवीन द गैजेट्स यूज इन स्कूल and gadgets we use at home. At school, A, it's teacher monitored. B, it's curriculum aligned. At home, it's not monitored. It's not aligned to any hidden curriculum that we are trying to teach to kids.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're doing that, then well and good. But if not, then strike a balance. अगर 1 घंटा बच्चे को टाइम देना है, कोशिश करेंगे कोई ऐसी अच्छी सी ऐप ढूंढें कि 30 मिनट्स वो इंटरैक्टिव ऐप में एंगेज हो एंड 30 मिनट्स उसका अपनी पसंद का कोई हो. So you are getting something out of your kid and you are also in return giving something to the kid. Okay, 30 minutes mama's application and 30 minutes your application. Or 30 minutes, baby and baba time, and 30 minutes probably, it's just your time. So
Mm.
start from, like I always tell parents 3 things, it's that, always try to become an authoritative when it comes to rules. It's very important कि किसी चीजों में ना हमें स्ट्रिक्ट होना पड़ता है. parenting is all about a balance between being firm and being friendly. So be firm and be friendly. Do not promote negativity, but do negotiation. कि भाई मील टाइम पे तो नहीं मिलेगा 40 minutes.
Hmm.
हाँ, अगर खाना खा लिया है, सबसे 10 मिनट बैठ के एक छोटी गेम खेल ली, then you can have your 40 minutes.
Mhm.
So negotiate. Don't become negative कि नहीं ये use नहीं करना है, ये नहीं करना, वो नहीं करना. Don't become negative, negotiate. Children are very good at negotiating. You
Yeah.
will be amazed of their negotiation skills. Similarly, do not do restrictions, do role modeling. So मैंने अपने बच्चे के हाथ से मोबाइल ले लिया, but मैं लगी हुई हूँ अपने मोबाइल में. That is not something. You're restricting, but you're not role modeling. So do not restrict, role model. And then switch your mentality. Understand कि वो application या वो gadget जो बच्चा use कर रहा है उसको दे क्या रहा है. Are we providing that thing? So what to a very 2-year-old वो बच्चे को screen पे क्या नजर आ रहा है? Colors, actions, sound, music. तो ये तो सारी चीजें हम उसको एक arts and craft की activity में भी दे सकते हैं. We can play some music at the background. We can use colors. We can give freedom. Freedom is one thing that screen is giving, which we are not giving to our kids. So constructive freedom is very important. And if we follow certain strategies, I think then detoxification will help. And yes, the use of screen time is toxic and it becomes an addiction.
All right, Shalina, I cannot thank you enough. Just the wealth of information that you have provided in this segment, absolutely mind blowing, and something that we need to go back and review, over and over again, whether you have a baby, a toddler, or a teenager, or if you're an adult, because we are, as you said, role modeling this behavior, and the impact of this is unfortunately, I think, being felt in this entire generation of our children. Thank you so much, and continue the great work that you're doing at Aga Khan University at the Early Childhood Development Program. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.